Hello all and welcome. It's that time of year again. Essen Spiel is just around the corner. And if you love economic games, then here are 10 being featured at the trade show that are a must for your radar. And I have a few honourable mentions at the very end. Now these games are all recommended, but they are in order of my most anticipated, with number 1 being my personal favourite. So let's kick this off then. At number 10 we have probably the most quirky game on the list, Philharmonics, a game that sees us managing a space orchestra as you tour the galaxy. Now there's a lot of things going on here, and with a theme and a board that certainly look rather full on, but there's been a lot of buzz about it, and I like the concepts and mechanics I've seen so far, like the strength of these actions fluctuating. You got the development of your orchestra, and it gives me a rather pret-a-porter vibe where the theme might not be my taste, but gameplay is fascinating. So about the game then, your orchestra is going to go on missions to perform on different planets. As you acquire better talent, you'll be training them, satisfying the listener who sponsor these performances, and you'll be overcoming various challenges as they may arise. Now you're performing symphonies, you're recording records, alongside getting these majorities and extra patrons and collecting musicians to take the win via prestige. Now you've got a host of actions such as moving, gaining money, recruiting, training, creating, performing and expanding your experience. And I think I said creating twice there. Now this all sounds great to me. Now it plays 1 to 4, 60 to 150 minutes, and if it never had such a crazy look, then this one may have appeared higher on the list, but it still has me curious for sure. At number 9 then we have a game called Future Inc. Now there's not a lot of information on this one, but essentially we are entrepreneurs of the future, investing in factories to produce and sell our products as we compete and react to the market demand. Now it's a card game, plays 2 to 4, 30 to 60 minutes, and on first impression this sounds like a game for me. The cover is enticing, I like the investment in this infrastructure and fighting for those profits, so definitely one for me. At number 8 then we have a game that is attracting a lot of attention recently, with comparisons to Brass Birmingham and Barrage, and this is a game called Nucleum. Now the designers behind this have a great track record and have brought us the likes of Barrage and Grand Austria Hotel, to name but a few of their games. So what is it about them? We're taking the role of industrialists trying to succeed during this economic and technological boom of the 19th century, fueled by the invention and spread of this nucleum, a nuclear reactor. So you're going to develop networks, build and power buildings. You're going to secure contracts as you work to get unique technologies giving you special powers. Now that's the kind of gist of it, and I'm very, very intrigued by the mechanics in this game, with these connections and development of buildings which oozes similarities to Brass Birmingham, a game you can tell I love. But what's kind of holding me back currently from getting more excited about this is that garish look. There's this bright neon green, and additionally what feels like a rather overwhelming board. It looks almost cluttered with icons and cardboard 3D pieces and different zones, but I'm sure all that'll make sense when you dive in and you start playing. But even so, the concept, the gameplay and the history of the designer is definitely enough to warrant a spot on this list. So next up at number 7 we have Whale Street, a stock game. Now this one definitely appeals to me because I am a sucker for stock trading games, and this one plays quickly in that 45-60 minute range, which is perfect. Now it looks quirky, but it has similar art to a game I enjoy from Oink Games, which is called Startups. This one however is brought to us by Olin Studio. Now the game is about trying to best understand these companies in play as you manipulate and invest wisely via these sort of tech cards that make up the skill status of each of these companies. These cards can also be used to place and impact market conditions affecting all the companies. So you're growing your assets in this dynamic environment, affecting earnings, and stock prices are going to fluctuate, which all sounds great, and hopefully I will be bringing you guys a closer look at this one on the channel very soon. At number 6 then we have a game that I've played a few times from the UK Games Expo, and it impressed me a lot. This is called Arabella. So it's an 18xx themed roll and write game. Plays in about 45-90 minutes, 1 to 4 players, and to note this has successfully passed its funding goals earlier in the year. So it's got that typical elements of train game, buy train, shares, there's dividends, tractor build, trains to run and income to attain. But this time you are making decisions based on dice outcomes and both the values and the amount of dice chosen, which are going to impact the choice of action. Now there's a lot to like here with that nice player interaction, simple but tough decisions, and for me it's an easy recommendation. I cannot wait to play again soon. So our fifth game is one that has been out almost 13 years but has been completely revised, it says, and this is Black Friday. Now it's been updated, it includes an independently acting opponent, it says, which adds something new. And if you follow this channel, you may know that I regard this game very highly within the sort of stock market genre. And to see a newer version come out is excellent and an absolute must as a recommendation for you guys, especially if you've not managed to play the original. So the game itself is all about cleverly trading stocks and investing in gold this time before the huge stock market crash. Now there's buying and selling as you make cash to spend on this precious metal for the win. Now there's a lot of fun had in this one, manipulating the game and seeing that volatility of these shares on this board, which I always find fascinating. And this is your opportunity to have a look at the game and hopefully meet the designer himself, Friedman Freeze, as well. So up next, if you have ever wanted to build ships, we have the game for you. Shipyard, the second edition, is here. Now this is another game that has been out a long time and I've played the original a few times and the gameplay was great. But I'm sure those who have played it would agree with me here that the look is very bland and rather beige, and those cardboard pieces really could have done with an upgrade. So here we are, second edition, which I have high hopes for. Now if it can elevate an already great game and make it more visually appealing, then this is a must to try. It's from popular designer Vladimir Suchy, and to note this version has a solo as well, so it plays 1 to 4. So the game itself, it sees you putting yourself in the role of manufacturers, hiring employees, buying accessories, getting favour from evaluating committees and renting canals as you create and build the best ships to send out and test and score these based on speed, crew, equipment and safety. Now the action selection always excites me in this game and the various options that open up to. So it's super game and great to see this back in the limelight for sure. Well worth a look at. Now we are down to the top 3 already. So at number 3 we have Galactic Cruise, a game that has still got a way to go with the final art and the overall look of this one from what I've seen so far and what I've watched, but it definitely has my attention. You are building and launching shuttles as you send different types of guests on luxurious space vacations to different locations in the galaxy. You will help your company thrive, satisfy customers, enhance the network and invent these new technologies as you grow your workforce with the aim of being the best supervisor, vying for that top spot of becoming CEO. Now, it all sounds great to me, and from what I can see from the gameplay, it's thinky. I like the developing of this network, pushing back other players' pieces, and then they get bonuses. Which avenues are you going to pursue, and how are you going to develop your player board? So a lot of things to like here. Now, it plays 1 to 4, and in the region of about 90 to 150 minutes. And it's on the upper end complexity-wise, so very excited to see how the final version of this one looks. Moving on to number 2 then, which was a tough call for me between this and number 1. And it's a game called Kutnahora, the City of Silver, which I've probably butchered the pronunciation, so apologies. Now on first impression, this didn't grab my attention. And it could have easily been overlooked with that medieval vibe, the city building, but once I started reading more and hearing terms such as economic growth, dynamic economic systems, profits, production, and then seeing this interesting price fluctuation and multiplier of resources and the market, I got very enthused, folks. Having watched some content on this, I am very impressed with what I've seen. It's got simple but tough actions to make with these cards. You've got a nice development choices on your board over the income, synergy of buildings as you place on various locations on this shared board. So yes, this one is certainly for me. So more about the game then. Yes, you're developing this medieval city building and its beautiful Gothic cathedral during the 14th century in central Europe. And that's the boring bit over, folks. It says it offers a real-life supply and demand experience where every action you take has an impact on the game's dynamic economic systems. Excellent. You've got mining, purchasing plots of land, building, gaining permits, gaining profits for that production with this highly interactive rounds where decisions impact the economy and other players' expansion and their building plans across this board. Now, it plays 2 to 4 in about 160 to 120 minutes. So there we go. Okay, final game on the list, which was a really tough call to make, like I said, between 1 and 2, but this one offers me something different that's typically out of my comfort zone, and this is because this game plays cooperatively, which is something rare in economic games I play, and this one is called Earth 2053 Tipping Point. Now, the theme regarding managing pollution and climate change has been done many times, but this has a nice twist that caught my attention, and the clue is in the title of the game, Tipping Point. It features this physical seesaw that is integral in visually representing the pollution versus prevention sway. Now, the game development is still early days, as you can see with the images, but the concept of working together to beat these events and manage your countries, negotiating, getting certain moves, grabs my imagination. And I love games like Gigawatt and Prosperity, so to have a co-op version, yes please. Now, the game is about balancing the needs of your population against the survival of your planet as you work together, like I've already said. But you do have your own country as well to manage with special abilities as you track your economy and the population's needs, hitting their needs, unlocking more powerful rewards. But then these impact pollution. So you can also work on events, you can prevent them, and you've got these outcomes that affect either the pollution or improving that prevention. Now, there's also this interconnection of cards being played down that provide bonuses and powerful effects. And kind of everything impacts this physical seesaw, which you can see, which determines if you are all going to win or lose. Now, this game is brought to us by Crimson Company and can already be played on Board Game Simulator. And it's also coming to Kickstarter very soon. Plays 1 to 4 in the range of 60 to 240 minutes. So very much looking forward to giving this one a go. And there we have it, 10 games. Now, I did promise you a few other honourable mentions, but before I go through these, for those still watching, thank you. And if you enjoy my content, I have early access and exclusive content for you, bringing you closer to all that economic goodness. There's a link to be found in the description to my Patreon. Okay then, moving on. First up, we have Age of Rail South Africa. Now, I'm assuming this will be featured by the behemoth that is Capstone Games, but I'm not quite sure. So, it did smash its Kickstarter earlier in the year, so if you see this, give it a go. I've enjoyed the first 2 in the Iron Rail series. I've yet to try the third, Iberian Gorge, and I really want to give this a go, which is based on the classic Winsome Games title, South African Rails. Next up is Oranges and Lemons from Medusa Games and designer Richard Dennin. Now, it's not a lot of images up for this one, if any, but it says there's a demo at the trade show. It's a worker placement game set in the 18th century London, and there's workers, storage, transport, buying, selling, money loaning, exporting contracts, politics, investing, expeditions, all which sound excellent. I could go on, and you're kind of utilising all these to make your business work for you back in the 18th century London. I'm very much looking forward to seeing more on this one. Next then, a big reminder that Ark Nova the Expansion Marine World is going to be present and very popular most likely, so keep an eye out for that one. Now, one that didn't quite make the list for me, Lunar Rush. It looks good. Another space resource game, but there's been loads of these types of games recently, so will it cut above the rest? Let me know. Another one I have mentioned a few times previously, Pampero, should be around somewhere, and I'm looking forward to seeing this big sprawling game. And finally, a game in development, Twin Star Valley. Now, the designer is hoping to demo this there. I'm liking what I have seen so far, having read the rules, and I think it's one of those simple yet thought-provoking games with much depth, hopefully, despite that cutesy sort of looking cover you can see here. So there we go. Now, there's of course going to be many other games featured and hidden gems that will probably appear, and I welcome you all to share these in the comments for everyone. And thank you all for watching, and I hope those in attendance have a safe and a fabulous time. Bye for now.